My name is Brandon Maloney, and here are the 5 things that I wish that I knew, the 5 most essential tips that I wish that I knew when I had started calisthenics just 9 months ago. Now, there might be a little bit of a misconception just hearing that for the first time. Like, well, 100-pound weighted pull-ups and 9 reps? Yes, that is what happened. I went from 10 body weight reps all the way up to about 5 reps with 100 pounds on weighted pull-ups. And I went from roughly 15 to 20 body weight reps or dips all the way up to 10 to 15 reps, depending on if you count how many sets I can do, of 10 reps with 100 pounds on weighted dips. So I made tremendous amounts of progress, and it's all because of things that I learned from weightlifting, from powerlifting, from a bunch of different sports put together, and I managed to make the most optimal training split and have genuinely just like a disciplined mindset in general to progress as much as I have. Here are the 5 things that if I knew on month 1, that would have made me even stronger and even better than I am now at month 9. So, tip number 1, stop doing sets of more than 10 reps. A lot of people make this mistake. A lot of people think, a lot, many people understand that in order to get stronger, you need a little bit extra muscle mass as well. And there's like nuance there, like if you're peaking, for example, like as a power lifter. So if let's say you're more of a beginner and you don't know what peaking is. Peaking is essentially when you're about to go into competition, like powerlifting, for example, and you're going to lift your 1 rep max, which is how much weight you can lift for 1 rep. What you would do to peak is you would do a bunch of attempts and a bunch of sets before the competition. Not a lot of sets, but still relatively heavy weight compared to what you're training with before to get your body used to lifting. It's a 1 rep maximum. How this translates into calisthenics is for weighted pull-ups and weighted dips. A lot of people think that, okay, I need to build muscle in order to get stronger. So you build muscle and then you peak, just bare basics of like periodization. You build muscle and then you peak. Well, a lot of people think the hypertrophy rep range is 5 to 30 reps, which is true. But they don't realize that the lower in the rep range you go, the more strength you're building. So, for example, if you're just starting a new routine and you're just getting into weighted calisthenics to learn the movements to best and to build the most general strength, which is strength that transfers to everything else, doing sets of 5 to 10, 5 to 8 reps as a beginner, somebody who's been training roughly a year, is your best option. If you're more advanced, that's a 3 to 6 is best for strength, like general strength without peaking. And again, peaking is like going for a 1 rep max. In 99% instances, maxing out is completely useless unless you compete. But I'm just giving that example for the sake of making it easier to explain. But never, ever, if you want to get stronger, go above 10 reps because it's too close to being more endurance based. Because I've noticed, especially, and this isn't just from my experience, this is literally just how it works. I can't really explain to you how exactly it works in this context, but when it comes to body weight training, you lose strength so quickly throughout the sets, rep wise. Strength wise, you kind of get to keep it, but rep wise, for weighted dips and weighted pull ups, for example, if you do a set of 10 at your absolute maximum, the next set, even if you rest like 3, 4 minutes, that'll be like a set of 6 or a set of 7. That's a pretty big jump. And with classical weight training, like a bicep curl, for example, you do a set of 10 as hard as you can, and then you rest. You'll maybe get 8 or 9. With body weight training, especially compound movements like a weighted pull up or a weighted dip, where you're using multiple muscles at the same time, it's a lot harder to recover in between sets. It's easier to match the same amount of work when doing lower reps. Also, just another side thing, this isn't really one of the tips, but another side thing, if you're trying to get stronger, you want reps in reserve as well. If I have a free community where there's a post in there talking about relative effort, and if you type in RPE, like in the little reply section, I'll give you like a full, I think it's 20 or 30 page guide on relative effort. It's super, super complicated to talk about like in this one video, but that's just something you can add. I own a community. I wasn't planning on advertising it this early, but if you care about that type of thing and you think calisthenics are cool and you think I have big muscles, then you can join, and I would absolutely think it's awesome. All right, tip number 2. When you add isolation movements, they need to have a specific purpose in your routine. There are so many people who I talk to, who I've coached, who people like my old coaches, not like coaches and like I've been coached by anyone, but athletes that I've spoken to and athletes that like I bought programs from or asked to call. A lot of these people ask those athletes or ask me, is it okay if I add bicep curls into my routine? Motherfucker, you're trying to get a stronger weighted pull up. Why do you need bicep curls? Even if you're trying to get a stronger chin up, the number one thing that's going to get your chin up stronger or your pull up stronger is doing pull ups and chin ups. Biceps play such a small role in it. It's not even funny. Most people just add isolations for the sake of like wanting to look good, but when you add too many isolations, one, it fatigues you more, which is going to make more weight training harder, which in the long run is actually going to make you not as strong as you could have been. After like 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be the exact same, but after 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, you'll actually get weaker because the fatigue builds up so much that you'll have to deload sooner. And when you deload, that brings down the fatigue so you can keep making progress. So let me give a little bit more insight on this for the people who don't know. Basically, when you get fatigued, it's basically just your body getting tired, and it's unavoidable. It's 100% an absolute for literally every human on the planet. At a certain point, you're going to get so fatigued and your body's going to get so tired that even if you're willing to put in the work, it's just not going to get stronger anymore, and you're also going to regress. So let's say you're getting super fatigued. In last session, you did 80 pounds for 10 reps on weighted pull-ups. This session, tried your absolute maximum. You did 80 pounds, but this time for 7 reps. It's that much of a difference, which is why you need a deload. And then after the deload, which is just an easy week of training or an easy cycle of training, you'll get a little bit weaker. Maybe you'll get 80 pounds for 8 reps or 80 pounds for 7 reps, or maybe 80 pounds for 6 reps or 7 reps or however many reps. It's going to be around the same, but usually a little bit weaker. And if you're super fatigued, sometimes it's actually stronger. But after this deload is when you start training again. If you can prolong when you need that deload by not adding extra isolations that are going to fatigue you, it's going to make it better. This is why you need to add isolations with a purpose. I had a conversation with one of my friends who trains strongman, and he was asking me, hey, should I add dips as like a tricep compound movement? And I said, what do you mean by that? And he was saying he wants to be able to train his triceps in the compound movement because he wants to transfer better to strength. And I was like, okay, what do your other movements look like? And he's like, oh, well, right now I do like diamond push-ups, which is weird for strongman, but he's a big guy, so I guess it transfers. And I also do incline bench. And I'm like, that's 2 horizontal movements. So if you don't know, there are um, fundamental human movements, which are basically just movements that should be in every strength program because that's just how humans move naturally. So it's a horizontal push, a vertical pull, so you pull up and down, a horizontal pull, so you pull from front to back. There's a squat, there's a hinge, which is like a deadlift or a Romanian deadlift, and then there is a lunge, which is like a single leg squat or literally just a lunge. You want to have all those added. His problem was he had 2 horizontal movements, but he was accounting the incline bench as like a vertical movement. And you can consider it that depending on how high the incline is, but just for the sake of this example, he had 2 horizontal movements. And I had to explain to him exactly what I'm explaining to you now is he's actually going to get weaker in the long run if he has a tricep movement that's actually going to make him stronger in the short term because more volume, more movement, more compound lifts, that's going to make you stronger at all of those lifts, which is going to make you stronger overall. But the fatigue is going to come in so much that actually he's going to get weaker and he's going to have to deload instead of after 5 weeks, he's going to have to deload after 3 weeks, which is a big difference. So I told him just replace his diamond push-ups with dips, close grip bench, maybe add some kind of shoulder press in there instead. And he trained shoulder press on a different day, so he had that sorted. But isolations need to be added with a purpose, whether it's to prevent injury, like in calisthenics especially, it's really important to train your wrist. This motion is very, very important. And I'm not going to get into all the details now, but just know for injury prevention, this is probably number 1 or number 2 most important things to train. But like bicep curls, for example, you're going to get better at the pulling movement just by doing more of it. And you'll be able to do it for a longer period of time if you don't add the bicep curls and fatigue yourself extra. So isolations need to be added with a purpose. And a lot of people are like, well, I want to look good also. Well, that's when you train muscles that aren't used. So your biceps are used in weighted pull-ups and weighted chin-ups and all of those kinds of things. Your tricep and your chest and all that is used during weighted dips. But during weighted dips, your upper chest isn't worked a lot. So maybe you add some more upper chest volume with your incline pressing. And then for weighted pull-ups, your traps aren't used a ton. So you add some kind of rowing work. And if you want to add more biceps, you can do it supinated or even neutral grip. But to say add more biceps, that's already getting trained. If you want to do side delts, for example, if you want bigger shoulders, your side delts don't get really used for dips or pull-ups. So that would be a good exercise to add if you're wanting to look better. But if you're just trying to get stronger as your main priority, skipping out on these movements is fine. Because again, I'm fucking 16 years old. I like just started taking training seriously like 9 months ago. I've gained 40 pounds in the past 3 years just by like trying to get stronger, staying the same height, and like I'm decently jacked. I'm not like fucking social media fit or whatever, but who is? Nobody who trains for like an aesthetic physique in real life actually gets like an aesthetic physique or whatever. You can look good, but the majority of people, unless you've trained like 5 years, aren't gonna look like that. You can train for 5 years like this where you just focus on getting strong and you'll look basically like 60 or 70 or 80% the same depending on your genetics. You add some side delt work in there and maybe like every once in a while you like do some isolations where you can't do bicep curls if being strong isn't your main focus. And you already look the same as the other guy, just like a wider back and like more defined forearms because this one kid on the internet told you, hey, fucking train your forearm. That was tip number 2. Tip number 3, which is kind of a similar thing, but I'm going to explain it differently. Less movements equals more results. If you look at the best straight lifter in the world, which is just like weighted calisthenics for powerlifting, so instead of doing leg squat, bench, and deadlift for powerlifting, for street lifting, it's, oh God, weighted muscle up, weighted dip, weighted pull up, and then squat. So it's like powerlifting, but you add a muscle up, you do a dip, and there's a pull up. So it's just weighted calisthenics for powerlifting. The best athlete in the world at that, Matthew Zlat. If you look at Matthew Zlat on Instagram or on YouTube, dips 205 kg, which is around 450 pounds, I believe. Squats in the ballpark of 250 kg, which is around 600 pounds, and does a weighted pull up with 130 kg, which is about 270, 280 pounds. He trains 3 times a week, full body, and does 3 compound movements. And those are his 3 movements. So he does weighted pull-ups, and then he switched to dips, and then he switches to squats. That's it. The best in the world. And you want to know why? Because he can train constantly. He never really has to take a deload. Now, at that level, it's more complicated. You have deload sessions and activation sessions and just a bunch of different programming stuff, which you don't even need to know yet at the level you're at. I don't even really need to know that. I just do because I'm interested in it. But I don't really need to know what an activation session is for. And deload sessions are kind of important, but at my level, until like I'm up in like the 160, 180 weighted pull-up range, it's really not going to make a huge difference for me. And I still use them because it is a tool. But what I mean is minimalist training will require or will allow you to train longer. So you kind of have to find the balance. In my opinion, Matthew Zlat could, and this is crazy coming from me because what the fuck do I know? I have no records and he's the king of everything. But he could, if he wanted to, well, it's not even my opinion. He very much could add more if he wanted to. But the thing is, he's doing what's sustainable. He's doing what is giving him the best results. He's doing what is literally keeping him on top of the sport over everybody consistently when he didn't start at the top of the sport. He had to build his way up, and then eventually he was just so much better than everyone. No one could catch up. Only like him and Vitaly Fishuk are the only 2 people who were at that level. And even Vitaly, he's not like super, super high caliber. Uh, if you look up Vitaly Fishuk, it's pronounced, if you're American like me, just I'm doing the fancy pronunciation because I want to prove that I'm cooler than you. If you look up Vitaly, however you say it in the American phrasing, Fishhook on Instagram, you will find him. He's a Ukrainian guy. Stupid strong, 130 kg pull up, 200 kg dip, all that kind of stuff. All this just crazy strength nonsense. But all of these guys have something in common. They don't train a ton of stuff. Vitaly trains bench, weighted pull-ups, strict curl, deadlift, and then like some calisthenic skills depending on the period of like his training that he's in. He doesn't do a whole lot. And he trains every day, which he's claimed to do on several occasions. But during each of his workouts, he doesn't really do a lot. And then the days he does do a lot, he always has like an easy session after. So everything's kind of balanced. So if you want your best results, then actually doing less can be more beneficial because of the fact that it's more sustainable. You can do it more. And also, if you train with less sets, that means you can have a higher frequency. Have you ever heard the saying, like, strength is a skill? That's very true. Strength, literally, if like 1 rep max type strength, is just neural adaptations that your brain makes, and it sends signals through your nervous system into your muscles, and that lets you push or pull however you want to do it. I did it backwards: push and then pull. If you're able to do it more frequently, hypothetically, if you were able to train 7 days a week without being fatigued, that'd be better than training 2 days a week. Now you generate fatigue and muscle soreness and all this type of stuff, but 3 times a week isn't that uncommon. This period, I used to be so against 3 times a week until I saw Matthew Zlat do it and the way that he did it, and now I'm trying it and it's working an absolute charm. And you have to be more careful the stronger you get, because it's easier to hurt yourself and it's easier to damage yourself, and just there's more absolute weight, so there's more total weight connected to you. So as you get bigger and stronger, you're literally bigger and stronger, so you have more weight on top of your body, and also you're using more weight. So if you make a wrong movement or something's sore or something's partially torn or pulled, it's a lot easier to get hurt. So you do need to be more careful, and that takes me into tip 4. Take injuries seriously. I lost about 4 months of progress in my handstand push-ups because of this wrist. I'm partly biased in saying that wrist is one of the more important parts when it comes to training, like when it comes to injury prevention. And it's not because it isn't, but it's because I have experience with it. I had a partially torn rotator cuff roughly 8 months ago, 7 months ago, which prohibited me from training handstand. Healed it, figured out how to heal it. It's super, super complicated, so I can't list that here. But if you want that to be another video, then you can join my community and say you want that as a video. I'll only be accepting ideas from those people, because those are the people who are closest to like my ideal viewer. But I fixed that. And my wrist is the thing that was preventing me from, and still is preventing me because it's still injured, months and months and months after I knew it was injured, but I ignored it. And I lost about a month of progress because of the shoulder, about 4 months of progress because of this wrist. That's 5 months total. I've been training calisthenics for 4 months, and I can do over 40 handstand push-ups in a workout at my best. Imagine where I'd be now. I'd probably be double that, like 80 handstand push-ups in a workout, if I didn't have these injuries. And the reason I have them is because I didn't take them seriously. Because when I initially injured myself, and this is kind of different, so I'm mostly going to talk about the wrist, but when I initially injured myself, I didn't pay attention to it. I thought, oh, it'll heal. Like, I can just train and it'll be fine. Like, I'm young and it'll heal by itself. Calorie surplus. I'm sleeping well. Like, whatever. It's fine. That wasn't the case. And I paid the price for it 100%. So if you get injured, if you have any kind of semi-major dinks or donks or dinglings or whatever you want to call them within your body, just chill, get some blood flow into that area. Don't stretch it if it's a pull. Don't stretch it if it's a tear. That's one of the worst things that you can do, because if you think about it, if you tear something, if you have a rip in a rubber band, which is what your muscles like always get compared to, if you have a rip in a rubber band, is it easier or harder to rip it when you pull on it if it already has a rip in it? Just think about that for a second. Obviously, it's easier. So stretching is actually one of the worst things that you can do when you have an injury like that. What you want to do is a full range of motion with minor pain. Yes, pain is actually good when healing an injury. A little bit of discomfort, maybe some pain, not too much so and not too consistently, and just blood flow, 30 to 50 reps, just blood flow, and you gradually increase the weight from there. That is the simplest I can explain to you how to actually fix an injury if you have it. But if you want more on that, I can make a whole dedicated video to it, because I've done it at least twice. Tip number 5. You need to learn from everyone, including dumb people. I will confidently say that if someone tells me something, even if it's completely wrong, if they're like, yeah, man, you need to do high reps in order to get stronger with a slow tempo. You need to do sets of 50 with a slow tempo, man, to get stronger. They're completely wrong. But I will look at that person in the face. I will ask for the reasoning. And there might be, out of the 50 wrong things that they say, one right thing. But guess what, motherfucker? I now know one more thing. So I win. I literally won that exchange because that person learned nothing because they're trying to push their crap onto me, which isn't true. And I learned that if you fucking put pressure on your wrist here, it makes it stronger because when you're doing high reps, there's like a little bit of like elbow movement and it adds blood flow or whatever I'm trying to rationalize this example as. But if you get the point, learning from everyone is a good thing. This is exactly why I made my community where I have my free training guide, my free skills course, and then I'm going to be releasing my paid strength building course very soon. So you get 2 free things just by joining. You get a community filled with people. We have over 30 members right now. There's going to be way more coming in after this video is uploaded. My last video got like 1.5 thousand views or whatever, and I'm planning on making more content. That's so okay, just real genuine real quick. You know how much that pissing me off? The last video that I did got 1.5 thousand views and I was sick and I sounded like a dumbass. You know how much better the retention rate would be if I wasn't sitting there sniffling the whole time? Anyways, I have a community free training guide that you can get. That's kind of everything. Once you join the community, there's also a 2-hour long skills course where it's literally just me talking to the camera, a bunch of modules, me explaining how you can get all your skills and the principles behind it. My name has been Brandon. Keep doing the best and doing your best. Trust God. Signing off. One final flex, and then go to my next video.